The complications and confusions around Edward Weevil are quite alarming. Walk with me. Hello motherfuckers, welcome back to Motherfucker Channel. Today we are getting into some Edward Weevil theories. I am currently ranking the warlords on my channel, and with those warlord rankings I like to drop a theory video that coincides with that warlord, and it just happens to be Weevil's week. And honestly, I was going into this video like, are we gonna really have that many Weevil theories? But when you dig into it, it gets pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna need you to walk with me. Let's get into it. And let's start with the most obvious one. Weevil being a clone of Whitebeard. Or should I say failed experiment. Because if he is a clone, it would be at the hands of Vegapunk. As Weevil's mother, Miss Buckingham Stussy, claims that Vegapunk can clear all the confusion up about Weevil being Whitebeard's son. Why is Vegapunk the only one that knows this information? Why is he the only one that got your back about this? It's very iffy, okay, questionable at best. But we all know Vegapunk is famously a perfectionist, throwing away a near perfect replica of Kaidou's devil fruit, all because the dragon form of whoever eats this devil fruit would be pink and not blue. Not only was he a perfectionist, but that man had OCD, okay, because that devil fruit was once again near perfect. The only thing that was different was the colors, but like, just to waste it is nuts. I say all this to say that if Weevil was a clone, he is a failed clone experiment. I mean, look at bro. Compared to Whitebeard, he looks like someone saw Whitebeard and told their nervous 7-year-old son to draw him. Okay? And I'm not coming for his looks. Maybe he just got dealt a bad hand. But come on. And honestly, let's look at Whitebeard. Whitebeard wasn't really all that. Now, I know Whitebeard has stands that are kind of like sexually attracted to Whitebeard. I don't know. I can't explain it, but he's not the worst looking. Okay. Now Weevil's own mother has a clone. Okay, and honestly, I'm not really sure why, but I'm guessing it was for what she was doing, which was keeping an eye out, a spy in the world government ranks. But this clone was perfect, acting and sounding and looking exactly like a young Miss Buckingham Stussy. So cloning is 100% indeed possible. I feel like Weevil was one of the first. That's why I'm calling him an experiment. Because Weevil is 35 years old, okay? And what else was happening 35-ish years ago? Now I'm going somewhere with this, okay? Just keep walking with me. So on God Valley, this is where we find out that Stussy low-key was in love with Whitebeard, but Whitebeard wasn't with that gay shit, okay? He just wasn't. So this could have gone two ways, in my opinion. Since Whitebeard was basically like, nah, Shine, you're a thought, forcing the scorned Stussy to take materials of Whitebeard materials and using those materials to create a Whitebeard clone. Now, she could have made this clone so the clone could fall in love with her, you know, really, that's really creepy, a creepy way of thinking of things, and it failed, and she called the clone her son. Now, she could have took these materials very easily, okay? Let's be real. In the God Valley flashback, she's seen always up close with Whitebeard. Even though Whitebeard wasn't with it, she still kind of forced herself. So I could see her stealing these materials from Whitebeard, taking them back to Mads, which she was also a part of, creating who we now know today is Edward Weevil, the first failed clone experiment in secrecy. Now I say in secrecy because it's like, how didn't Whitebeard know about this? Because when we get to Marineford, right, Edward Weevil at that point would be 33 years old. Going 33 years old and your father is one of the biggest pirates on the sea, and it's just, that's what I'm saying. It's just like questionable. How the fuck didn't Whitebeard know about this? Now, the second possibility of Edward Weevil possibly being related to Whitebeard is that one day Whitebeard possibly might have gotten a little too drunk. Okay, he loved his sake, his alcohol. He was a pirate, okay? And ends up making sweet, sweet pirate love to Buckingham Stussy, making her pregnant with Weevil, and he was just born with a little bit of the tism. And I feel like saying that is weird, okay? But there's something off about Buddy, okay? But I think I like the clone version better. That second version was just like, hey, let's just get it in real quick, okay? But I like the cloning version better. Her stealing Whitebeard's materials to create this clone. Now I have a bonus theory that I'm going to add here real quick. It kind of ties in with this whole cloning situation. So Queen, as we all know, he is from the Beast Pirates or whatever. He was actually, before the Beast Pirates, was also a part of Mads, the science group. Stussy, Queen, Vegapunk, Judge, they were all in this group called Mads. And I'm guessing that her connections with them are what caused Weevil, as we talked about just a second ago. But what if Weevil isn't a Blackbeard clone? What if he is a fucking Queen clone? They resemble each other so much. I was talking earlier about Whitebeard and how he doesn't really look like Weevil or whatever, and it's kind of weird, and that's where I came up with that failed experiment, because he just doesn't look like Whitebeard or whatever. And it's still a possibility, but I kind of am here for the Queen clone. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? They just look alike, you know. That's really all there is to that theory. I don't know. It could honestly go both ways. And Queen being a part of Mads, he could have got his hands on this cloning project that he had going on. What if he accidentally switched his materials with Blackbeard's materials? Yuck. That's so nasty. But like, what if that is what happened and she just thinks that, oh, this is my Whitebeard clone? I don't know. That's so crazy. Let me know how you feel about this. Enjoy the rest of the video. And my last Weevil theory is about his end goal. And let's be real here. It's obvious Stussy is pulling the strings in this whole ordeal, using Weevil's strength and possible relationship to Whitebeard as a means to steal Whitebeard's treasure. Now, if you believe he's a clone, it would make sense that she is trying to just claim it for herself, because she doesn't even give motherly vibes. To be honest, I mean, she was crying when Weevil was arrested or whatever, but she's very hard on Weevil. But maybe it's just because he's a fucking idiot. I don't know. Unfortunately, Weevil's character will only be used as a guide to either Whitebeard's treasure or the cloning experiments stuff or whatever, you know, or maybe even both. And I say unfortunately because it's like, look at our other legends that have kids, okay? Like Ace and Gold Roger, Dragon and Luffy, Rocks and Blackbeard. You know, not to say Blackbeard is like the most handsome, but like they set out to do something, you know. And this is why I say unfortunately, because Weevil's just a mess, okay? All around a mess. He looks a mess. His whole layout is a fucking mess. His mother is making it even more messy. It's a mess. And that's sad for Blackbeard, that if that is his legacy, you know, Weevil, it's a bit unfortunate. maybe he did know about Weevil, but he was just like, bro, you're not my son. Like, purposely, you know. And now for a little recap of my Weevil theories. And my first one was Stussy stole Whitebeard ingredients to create a clone of Whitebeard to finally make her dream come true of being cracked by Whitebeard. But the clone failed, ultimately leaving her no choice but to call the clone her son. And my second theory was Stussy is currently using Weevil to take Whitebeard's treasure by force in an ultimate act of revenge for Whitebeard not loving her for who she was, or just loving her at all, because she did love Whitebeard, but he just didn't feel that way, yada yada. Let me know how you feel about these Weevil theories. I think the cloning situation, when I did the ranking of Weevil, I was just like, I don't think there's no coming back for his plot line, and I kind of still feel that way. But now that I like looked into it and stuff, the cloning situation is very, very interesting. Whether she did it as an act of revenge, or she really loved Whitebeard and wanted to just make a clone of him somehow. I don't know. I really can't explain it, but it's all interesting to me personally. Make sure you go check out Weevil's ranking, and if you want to know where I ranked the rest of the warlords, we have done almost all of the warlords at this point. We have 3 more left, okay? So go check out the rest of my warlords and their theories. They're also very interesting. But I guess that's it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Bye.